heart of London's West End, home of smash hits, expensive flops, triumph and despair. Kitchen sink or musical comedy, it's all here because this is Theatreland, and the subject of tonight's This Is Your Life knows it so well. By Jove, I needed that. And the star I'm after tonight is even better on the ivories. Her journey to the Hall of Fame was a matter of another suitcase, another show, as she made her way from the folk clubs of Scotland on a musical tour via Liverpool, Argentina and Bangkok. She's also managed to fit in a spell in Bradford's red light district, all in the line of duty. It was for the TV series Band of Gold. In real life, she's a wife and a proud mum of 3. Tonight she's at the famous Groucho Club throwing a party to celebrate her latest stage show, The 7 Ages of Woman. She's recording rave reviews with cast and crew for what she thinks is a promotional film. I shall now promote myself in time-honoured fashion.
We all loved being involved in the show, and it did very, very well, and the critical success it achieved was beyond our wildest dreams, really. So thank you very much for taking a chance on us. I hope we came up with the goods.
Certainly did, and many congratulations from everyone, I would say. So, I haven't been invited because I never am, but I hope you will answer me when I say, Barbara Dickson, tonight, this is your life.
I'm gobsmacked.
Did you write that lyric yourself?
I certainly did, thank you.
Well, we have another party waiting down the road. It's one do after another, really, isn't it?
Oh, gosh.
Step this way, then. See you down there. Thank you.
Wow.
I was sorry to interrupt your speech. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
Well, I wanted to say, when I saw you, I thought, what is this bloke doing dressed up as Michael Aspel? And why is he holding that book? Oh, now I won't say what I thought. Oh God, as the penny dropped.
Well, that's a relief anyway. In a career of more than 30 years, Barbara, you've made it to the top on record, on TV and on stage. A turning point in more ways than one came in 1982 in the original Liverpool Playhouse production of the heart-rending musical drama Blood Brothers. You were cast as the hard-up mum forced to give up one of her newborn twins. Your character's name was Mrs. Johnston.
But I was to make you Mrs. Cookson.
And we'll always know you as Mum.
Your husband, Oliver Cookson, and your children, Colm, Gabriel and Archie.
Hello,
Wow. No, you're divorced.
You can make it up later. Now, Oliver, Blood Brothers was a very poignant tale. How did the story start for you and Barbara?
Well, I was an assistant stage manager at the Liverpool Playhouse, and over a period of time we got to know each other, and about 18 months later we got married and created our own little cast here.
Boys, is it fun having a famous mum?
It gets annoying sometimes at school when people say, oh, someday can you get your mum's autograph? Or...
But Gabriel, what do you think?
I think there's quite a bad thing about it because she's always away and you hardly get to see her.
What a mother.
Unfit, you know.
But Archie, there are good things, aren't there?
Yeah, well, the good thing is that you get to see lots of her shows and everything.
That's more like it. Well, where to start? Let us dip into the Dickson discography. First, a number from Blood Brothers.
Living on and never, constant as the changing weather, never sure who's at the door. You might yesterday
last song, I Know Him So Well, came from the musical Chess. It took you to #1 in the UK charts. You were not alone. Your partner on that hit, ELAINE Paige.
Thank you very, very much.
ELAINE, I expect Barbara was difficult to work with, wasn't she?
Oh, it was hell. No, I'm teasing. The funny thing is, Michael, that actually Barbara and I didn't work together recording I Know Him So Well, if you remember.
No,
we did it on completely separate days, didn't we? We never actually, I think, met really until, we certainly didn't know each other very well, until the song got to #1.
Yes.
And then if you remember, they asked us if we'd go on this whistle-stop tour all around Europe to sing I Know Him So Well, which we did gladly. And I think, if I remember rightly, we went up and down in an aeroplane about 25 times in the space of 6 days.
We did.
And came down deaf in Belgium.
When we got to #1, do you remember that morning? It's typical of two girls at #1 in the charts. We got to #1 and the phone rang at something like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And I just picked up the phone and I heard coming down the phone, and it was
we
Her
got there. It
Majesty.
was so exciting, wasn't it? And it was
We
a
were.
wonderful time in both our lives, I'm sure, that I
Yes.
remember very, very fondly. And of course, that was the time that we really did forge our friendship, and we've remained friends ever since, and long may it last.
Thanks,
You're a
sweetheart.
great lady.
Thank you.
Enjoy this evening.
Thank you
deserve
very
it
much.
so.
Thanks, sweetie. Thank you. You're a pal.
Well, talents don't usually come one at a time. As well as your musical success, you made your mark as an actress in the detective series Taggart and the award winners The Missing Postman and Band of Gold.
What are you going to do? Dunno. Get out there and earn some money. You stuck to it, though, saying he was your boyfriend. Yes, I did. Why do you think they'd done me? Because they couldn't do you, that's why. If I'd grass on you, I'd have been out last night and you'd have been banged up.
Well, I don't run a brothel. They've got a bloody cheek accusing me of it in the first place. Anyone would think I made money out of it.
You do.
And among those sharing the low life and the high drama in Band of Gold was Geraldine James.
Oh, my pals out here. Darling. How brilliant of you. Oh, you're such a pal.
Geraldine, Band of Gold was an unusual project, wasn't it?
The extraordinary thing about the series was that it showed a group of women who became very close through humour and through difficulty. And it is very tough acting, and we had a tough time, but we had a great time. And this is one of my very best friends, and I'm delighted to be here, and lots of love, and have a great night.
You're so sweet.
Thank you, Geraldine.
Thank you.
Well, Barbara Ruth Dickson, this is your life. You were born on September the 27th, 1947 at Dunfermline Hospital in Fife. Your late father, Alistair, had been a policeman in Liverpool before joining the civil service. Attached to the Admiralty, he was based at the Naval Dockyard in Rosyth. He died in 1985, but had been able to enjoy your early successes. Now, your father had met your mother in Liverpool. She'd worked as a telephonist during the war before raising her family.
And the sound of music was always ringing in our house.
Your mother, Ruth Dickson.
That's my ma.
Yes. Well, I hope so, otherwise we made a terrible mistake.
No, that is my ma.
Yes. Ruth, singing was in Barbara's blood.
Oh yes, there was always music in the family. Classical was played quite a lot, but my father was a very, very good classical pianist. And my mother had rather a nice voice too.
Well, yours is certainly a close family. As a baby, you'd visit your mum's relatives in their native Liverpool. That included your cousins Sue Howard and Sylvia Simpson. Sue, you recall a very early performance.
Yes, I do. On one occasion, I was babysitting for Barbara, and I was singing softly, trying to get her to sleep, and she was determined she wasn't going to sleep anyway, so I was singing away, and I was singing the hit song of the day, which was Frankie Lane's Cool Water, and Barbara joined in. And she was only 18 months old at the time.
Well, when you were 3 years old, another Dickson arrives, your brother, Alistair. There you are with your father. 17 years ago, Alistair Jr. moved to Canada, where he works as a cabinet maker and sculptor.
But I down tools to be here tonight.
From Toronto, with his wife Kathleen and children Liam and Neve, your brother, Alistair.
Absolutely wonderful. Oh, this is so brilliant. Fabulous. It's so wonderful. Thank you.
Alistair, what do you remember of your big sister?
Well, I just remember she was still is a wonderful sister. She was very protective of me, and when I was older, included me in lots of things.
I decided that he was going to be interesting.
Oh.
I decided at a young age I was going to make him interesting, so I decided to expose him to folk music and drink rather than young, all sorts of other things. And look at him, he's fantastic. He's a wonderful brother.
Well, you go to Pitcorthy Primary School. Even then, there was a song in the air, Donkey Serenade, Bare Necessities. You joined the church choir, and at Woodmill Secondary School in Dunfermline, you win a Certificate of Merit for excellence in the singing of Scottish songs, as well as playing the piano. There you are, in the school orchestra, with no idea where your talent is to take you.
Isn't that great? I look so suspicious, don't I?
And I told you, you might not have the best voice, but you've got the loudest.
That was his opinions 30 years ago when you last saw each other, your music teacher at Woodmill School, Sandy Sadler.
Mr. Sadler! Hello! You haven't seen... How nice to see you. I haven't seen him since I left school.
No, that's right. I did say that.
Yes, I didn't hug him like that the last time either.
And I must explain this about the loudest voice. Remember, you had such a marvellous, effortless power in your voice that when we put it in a section of the choir, I had to move about half a dozen girls over to the other side to balance it. So we get the perfect blend. And not only that, remember when I used to give you songs and that, new songs, and you would go away, and the next day she would appear with a second part written for the song. It's an absolute marvellous talent. I knew she was going someplace.
But can I just say to you that I don't think that was entirely to do with my talent, because you gave me a great love of music, and what you asked me to do was so interesting. It was easy. Well, it was easy, really.
I don't know, but at any rate, I'm really pleased you're here, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
You deserve it,
Thank you very much. It's jolly kind. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, music is obviously your main preoccupation, but your parents naturally wanted you to play safe when it came to a job. You leave school and follow your father into the civil service. At the age of 17, you joined the Registrar General's office in Rosyth. That sounds important. What did you do?
Well, I worked on statistical coding of causes of death.
After work, you escaped to the city's folk clubs. There you discovered a new world. One night at a club called the Howf, friends encouraged you to get up and perform. And it wasn't long before the other singers showed their appreciation too. You were invited to join them on stage, and they encouraged clubs to book you. A happy band are here tonight. Jack Beck, Archie Fisher and Rab Noakes, and with them founder of the Howf Folk Club, John Watt.
Oh, how wonderful.
Well, Jack,
thank you.
Tell us about the early encounter.
Well, there wouldn't have been any encounter if it hadn't been for John here, who had actually started the club.
That's right, it was many years ago, as you well know, Barbara, but that night when you came to the club and you opened your mouth and sung, we knew that we were in the presence of something unique, and we were correct.
You're very kind, John. Thanks.
I thought you were going to say you're right.
I should have done, but I'm a Scot.
So we carried on and sang for what?
We did,
a couple of
Jack,
years
yes,
after that,
yes.
all around the folk clubs in Scotland.
Yes.
Well, Archie has dug out a picture of you and the young Barbara.
I'm sorry.
Oh, look!
That was an old television series at the end of the Flower Power era, and I'm the one on the right.
I have no moustache.
I was delighted to find that Barbara loved pop music like I did. She could batter through a lot of Beatles songs, and we could get into quite an extension of the Everly Brothers repertoire.
Tell the people why we knew the Everly Brothers songs.
Well, just because we had loved them since we were babies.
And we were also both in their fan club. We
It's
were
all
both
coming out.
card-carrying members of the Everly Brothers fan club.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks very much, guys. Thanks. Lovely to see you.
So your reputation is growing, but you still hold down your day job in the civil service. Then in 1967, you get an offer to sing on a 6-week tour of Denmark. You ask for the time off work, but the answer comes back rubber-stamped, no. So you hand in your notice. Money is short as you struggle to get established on the club circuit.
Yeah.
And then in 1971, with a group of musicians, including Archie Fisher, you record a selection of folk songs. We have that recording, so here is the early Dickson sound.
Down in your valley there was a fine wedding. Oh, but the bride she has proved to be unkind. When looking back on her bygone lover, her former true lover came in at the time.
One night you were performing at a club in Wolverhampton and the audience was a man called Bernard Theobald. 26 years later, he's still in the audience. Bernard, tell us what happened in between.
Oh, Mark, I think I was probably Barbara's first introduction to real wealth. I'd actually saved up £150 to go to Greece for the winter. I saw Barbara performing and I approached her at the end of the evening and said, "You really shouldn't be playing here." It was a fairly rough pub. And you should be at the Albert Hall. So I said to her, "I'll invest this £150 that I've got, or the money I've got." I was far too canny to tell her how much. I said, "I'll invest all my wealth in you, and when it's all gone, if you're no better off, I'll go away. And if at the end of it you think there's some advantage to me being around, then we'll work together." And I've still got my £150.
He has. It's absolutely true.
Excellent. Your big break came in 1974 with the offer of a part in an exciting new musical at the Liverpool Everyman Theatre, written by Willy Russell. It's a show that tells the story of that city's most famous sons. It was called John, Paul, George, Ringo and Bert.
You knew, that it wouldn't be long. You knew, like, you were living through an era that was going to end one day. But they waited.
Playing the show's narrator, Bert, was George Costigan, and playing Brian Epstein was Robin Hooper. Now, George, Barbara was a newcomer to this business, wasn't she?
Yeah. We were given the script of the Beatles show, and the actors in it were going, "Well, are we going to have Beatles songs? We're going to have the records?" And they went, no, we're going to have this folk singer that Willie knows. "Oh, yeah? Who is it?" "Barbara Dickson. Never heard of her." And then we heard she was getting paid more than us. So a lot of rumbling and grumbling. And the director, very cannily, after about 4 days, said, "Why don't you just go down to the bar and see what the band are doing?" And we went down, and Barbara was singing Penny Lane. And we all went, "Ah."
We see. We all knew that actually when the show came down to London, that the audiences were coming to see a show about the Beatles, but they left wanting to know more about the writer Willy Russell and the wonderful Barbara Dickson.
Oh, sweetie. Happy days.
Off you went.
Thank you very much.
Georgie. Thanks so much. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Well, you were on your way. You signed up to a recording contract, and in 1976 you have your first top 10 hit, Answer Me. The following year, you're asked to record a track for the album version of the hit show Evita. The single, Another Suitcase in Another Hall, reaches the top 20. The composer of that song was very pleased.
Barbara, I'm really, really sorry I can't be with you tonight. I'd have done anything to be with you, particularly on a night like this. But have a fabulous night. I wish I could share some of our memories with you personally. I always remember particularly Another Suitcase in Another Hall from Evita, which you did so brilliantly and had a big hit with. And Tim Rice and I were always very grateful for that. But have a smashing night. I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful time. You really deserve it. Lots of love.
With a second hit under your belt, you set off on your first headlining concert tour, topping the bill at the London Palladium. There are more hits, more concerts, more TV appearances, and more requests to hear you on radio.
I played January, February so much on my radio show that my producer was praying for April.
One of your biggest fans then and now, Dave Lee Travis. Dave, feel free to rave.
Thank you. Rave, rave, rave. Mwah. OK, husband's too close. No, this, I have to say, it's probably become apparent to everybody watching the programme now, and it's an awful thing to say in the 90s when you use the word nice, but I'm going to use the word nice. See, I've met so many stars throughout my 30-odd years in the business. It's really such a pleasant change to find somebody who's not only really talented, but actually is a nice person. And you know, that's a word that I have to use for you because she's delightful. She has some faults, but she's basically... I have to say, one of my strongest memories of Barbara singing was when you did the Albert Hall, and you stood there on your own, single spotlight, and sang McCrimmon's Lament. Do you remember
Well, I learned
that?
it from these guys.
Wow, that was stunning. This is a great honour for you, and I wish you
thank you.
lots of love. Mwah, and drinkies after.
Thank you, Dave. It was in 1982 that you get the chance to appear in a new show by Willy Russell. It was called Blood Brothers. You win the 1983 Society of West End Theatres Award for Best Actress, and the show is named Best Musical at the Olivier Awards. There was another happy ceremony on August the 25th, 1984, when you and Oliver marry at St Elizabeth of Portugal Church in Richmond, Surrey. Your next and biggest hit was, appropriately, I Know Him So Well. Recently, you had the great pleasure of singing Elaine's part in a duet with the stunning coloratura from Birkenhead.
Hello, Barbara. How are you? You having a good night? Well, I'm speaking to you from my dressing room at the Blue Cockatoo Bar and Grill, Huddersfield, because I'm currently on tour. Oh, I wish you were here with me. We could have done our duet. You know, that was one of the high points of my career, singing I Know Him So Well with you. Although, let's be honest, I didn't do much singing, did I? I mean, I hardly had a chance to open me gob.
Wanting far too much for far too long. Looking one of you more moments who can tell.
You're a very generous performer to work with, Barbara. I remember during that song I had a momentary lapse of memory, but you were there to prompt me in front of millions of viewers.
Still the gap between us was too wide. Looking back, I couldn't. Learned about the man before I fell. It's my best, but I knew him well.
Anyway, listen, I just want to say, you're a wonderful woman, Barbara. You're a class act. So, well, I'll see you soon. Look after yourself. Tell that drummer I'll be ready when he sobers up. All right? The glamorous show business. Have a good night. Ta-ra. I'm coming.
Well, that song came from the hit show Chess, and I wonder what the writer thought.
Hello, Barbara. I think perhaps we should have had Lily Savage on the record in the first instance, and it would have been an even bigger hit. But perhaps not. Definitely not. I thought that the version that you and Elaine did was absolutely terrific and one of the highlights of my time in the business, to have a #1 record with two brilliant female singers. And of course, You also gave Andrew and me a hit with Another Suitcase in Another Hall from Evita. And I remember the excitement the first time I saw you perform live in John, Paul, George, Ringo and Bert many moons ago. You're a terrific singer, one of the very, very best the country's ever produced. And I hope you have a terrific night.
Well, in 1994, your cameo appearance in the detective series Taggart leads to a major role in Band of Gold. Earlier this year, you were back on stage with the comedy Friends Like This, and your latest success is The 7 Ages of Woman. But our curtain speech tonight comes from the award-winning writer who changed the course of your career. You met in your folk days when he was a hairdresser running a folk club. Willy Russell. Willy, you've both come a long way.
It was the night before I got married that I met Barbara. I was on my way to a folk club, which is what all good people did then on the eve of their weddings. And my mother happened to call me at some friend's house and said, I've got a problem. So I said, what's that? She said, there's this girl turned up on the step. She's a bit scruffy. She's starving. She's Scottish, but she's very nice. And I said to my mum, well, give her something to eat and send her down to this folk club. And she turned up and with all that hair and the Buddy Holly glasses and that. And then said, look, can I do a couple of songs? And I thought, well, that's a bit rich, you know, comes along, gets fed, and then wants to hog the floor. So we kind of dutifully put this name down. And kind of thought she would retire to the bar while this is going on. Well, we didn't get as far as the bar because you opened your mouth and everybody in that room knew we were with an absolutely extraordinary talent that's got more extraordinary and more special as time's gone on. Congratulations.
Very Thank you. Barbara Dickson, this is your life.